Oh, welcome to the video. This video is on professional sales. In hospitality, professional sales are those people out there making sales for banquets, uh, retreats, whatever, right? Um, if you're in the travel industry, is some bringing people in, selling packages. So that's sales, right? We're talking about professional sales, people who sell for a living. Now, we've talked a lot about trying to make sales and this whole thing. The whole purpose of marketing is to bring people in so we can sell to them. Now we're talking about selling. I'm not going to go in a lot of detail. This is a big chapter. There's a lot of lists in this chapter, a lot of things, step by steps and all that. I'm going to let you read that. I'm just going to come across to you as a salesman. All right. I was a salesman for 10 years. When I retired from the Marine Corps, they told me what I was, they evaluated my career and they told me what I was qualified to do in the civilian world. They said, you were in the infantry, you're qualified to be infantry. I was like, well, I can't really do that. Right. But they said, also, you spent that 30 miserable months as a recruiter. So you're also suited to be a salesman. Didn't like recruiting, didn't like selling, but I had to do something. So I did so. All right. And selling, salesmen, Salesforce get a bad rap, all right, sometimes deservedly. But think about this. They are extremely important, all right? In our society, going way back to when capitalism was in infancy, when one person spent 3 coconuts on a spear or whatever it was, right? Nobody innovated anything until somebody sold something, all right? Nothing gets made, nothing changes until somebody sells something. Till a salesman out there trying to make money saying, what is it that you need and I could sell you? And the person says, well, I need this. And the salesman says, it doesn't exist, but I'm going to sell it to you anyway. All right. And that is one of the reasons why salesmen are looked down upon, is because they make promises that other people have to keep. But that's what drives innovation, right? So salesmen are vital not only to a business but to society. Okay, that's my take as a former salesman. All right, but you cannot look at your sales force as the outcast of your company. They're very important to you, and most people don't. They understand their importance. They just don't like them very much. All right, but sales are hugely important. All right, and there's a lot going on in sales. There's a lot to understand. Um, Oftentimes in sales, especially in the hospitality industry, it's not a salesman or a saleswoman or a salesperson that does all the sales. Everybody is a salesman, right? So front desk, they're a salesman, all right? Whatever. I mean, there's so many different examples where everybody it works together to make sales. All right. So in this chapter, you're going to talk about the nuances of selling, the organizations of selling, and things of that, but in that nature. But I just wanted to really touch on you as a former salesman, just how important sales is. Take care of your salesman. Here's a definition of sales. A salesman is someone whose job involves selling or promoting commercial products, either in a store or visiting locations. We don't do a lot of we don't have a lot of event showroom store where people come in, but we'll go to people that will bring them in so we can give them presentations and stuff like that. But it's not like in retail where they just come in and take things off the shelf. But but that's a salesman. They're the ones that are going to make you successful or not. All right. So there is a common dynamic in the world, in this country anyway, that a lot of people, when they can't do anything else, they take they take a try at selling. And there's a lot of salesmen out there who approached it that way, who are very, very good, but there are a lot who are not. Okay, so some of the things that salesmen do, right? And this is all I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to let you read the rest, right? But salesmen, some of the things they do is they prospect. What does prospecting mean? Well, when you're selling something in a showroom, you don't do a lot of prospecting, but you kind of do, but it's a little different. But when you're a sales force in the basement of a hotel, you're on the phone, you're trying to find people. You're researching, seeing who's out there who needs something, and you're looking for someone to talk to. Okay? That's prospecting. Then you target those prospects, right? Just because someone wants to talk to you doesn't mean it's the person that you want to talk to, right? Your time, your sales force's time is very important, right? That's one of the reasons why it works on commission. Why commission was even made is because there's so many people out there that want to take up your salesman's time, and say salesmen like to talk a lot of times. So giving them incentives to not talk to the people that are not going to buy is important. Now that sounds kind of mercenary, but it's the way it is. Right. So then you have communicating. Communicating is the thing. Salesmen like to talk. All right. But some introverts are very good salesmen. Just, talking, communicating is not always yap, 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 yap. All right. There are salesmen out there that don't stop talking. I might have been one of them. And that's fine. But there's other salesmen out there who will say a tenth of what that one person says, but communicate more. All right. So communication doesn't necessarily mean words. It means the right words, right? Selling, then closing, right? Anybody who's ever done any sales training has heard the ABCs of sales, right? ABCs of sales. Always be closing the deal. From the very start, you're putting that closing verbiage in somebody's head. It's like when you're here and when you're in the lobby and when you're having your wedding here and when you come down this hallway here, you're closing at that point because you're putting in there. You're assuming you've already closed it in your mind, seemingly, and that's demonstrating it to them as well. All right, so always be closing. Servicing is very important. Service after the sale, hugely important, especially if you're sales in a hotel or restaurant. So a restaurant selling a banquet or catering or something like that. You don't sell it as it's being consumed, right? You sell it prior to that, and there's a lot of moving parts getting that ready. All right, if nobody likes to have a 2-hour conversation with a salesman, and it's wonderful. They're like your best friend. You almost want to invite them to the wedding. It's just great. And nobody likes it when once you give them the money, boom, you never hear from them again. All right. Now, here's something to understand. Salesforce, in the eyes of your clients, of your guests, they are you. All right. So they are you. Meaning that if I'm a salesman for a hotel and I have a lot of contact with someone who's going to spend a lot of money on a banquet and a block of 20 rooms or whatever like that, and I'm going to different hotels and talking to the salesman, that interaction with that salesman, that is my opinion of that organization. It is. All right. So in the same way of servicing, all right, if there's an issue, the salesman might not have a clue how to fix that issue. But that's the person's going to be called. I'll tell you that right now. You're the person, or the sales force are the ones that are going to be called. All right. So having people with clues is important, who have a clue. All right. So information gathering. Salesforce shouldn't just sit around waiting for people to come knock on their doors. They should be gathering information. All right. And the management of the hotel, restaurant, whatever the organization is, should be always willing to hear what the salesmen have discovered. All right. Because again, that drives innovation. It's like, hey, we've done a lot. We've heard a lot of people say that, there's a need for this and it's not being fulfilled. All right. So, but also you're looking at your competition, you're doing intelligence work against your competition. Oh, wow, they've just dropped their prices. And you're finding out why they're dropping their prices so you can sell against it, all that other stuff. Then you have allocating, especially in a hotel. This is very important. Or in a restaurant selling banquets and private rooms and catering and stuff. You can't just, everybody who wants something, you can't just say yes, right? Ooh, I made everything shake. You can't just say yes really quick and jump on it. Some salesmen do, but you have to have an understanding of the allocation. we can't, because there's different priorities, right? These big events are great because they sell our perishable products and they make a room that would have been empty full. Right? That is what we want. That's great. However, if it would have been full anyway, and we're selling it for a lower price, we need to make sure that we're allocating things correctly. All right. So, and then there's the maintaining strategic partnerships. You know, partner with different organizations that understand the market, partnering with former clients, especially in sales for hospitality. Um, very few companies will uh, have a single event, and they're never going to have another event, right? So maintaining that relationship. Some will say we want a different experience every single time. We're going to share the wealth. We're going to go here, then there, then there. Others don't want to be bothered. They're looking for that partnership. They go to one hotel. It was really not that great. So we're going to look again. And then they look, and then another and then, oh my God, that was terrible. And then all right, you dazzle them, keep that relationship. All right. So those are some of the things that sales do. I encourage some of you who are in your career to not poo-poo sales completely. I've spent some time talking with the sales force at the arena. They're awesome folks. There's a lot of things they do. Oh, one thing that in those bigger sales, like those great big sales for events and stuff like that. Another thing that salesmen do a lot of is contracting and writing fair and protecting their company through the contracting. So you can't have an idiot as a salesman. All right. So that just kind of wet your whistle on it. Read the chapter. Because this is a Halloween week, Thanksgiving week, I'm only going to have a little short quiz. There's a discussion that's more general towards the holidays. We won't have the case study. Okay. See you around. Oh, by the way, have a wonderful Thanksgiving and safe. All right.